Hello, everyone. My name's Hank Setala, and I'm here with an episode of Holistic Highlights. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to have here with me again today Dr. K. She's one of our HHH affiliates, and I have agreed to have a little biofeedback, something shown on the airwaves here so you can actually see one of the things that she can actually do to help see what's going on in the body and how she can make recommendations for you to really step into wholeness and whole living.
Good morning.
Good morning. And before we get into the fun part, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself for people who might be catching this for the first time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, hope everybody's doing awesome this morning. It's a little dreary here today, but that's all right. So, I am Dr. K. I'm a functional medicine practitioner. I do energy technologies as well. And today we're doing a little bit of quantum biofeedback therapy. So, I am actually a foot and ankle surgeon by training, kind of left traditional medicine to combine an Eastern and Western approach because I'm finding patients need a whole lot more than just medications. We're treating symptoms and not the root cause of conditions. And that's really what I kind of get into now. So I handle the physical piece, the emotional piece, and even a bit of the spiritual piece so the whole body can heal a whole lot faster. That's kind of my mojo.
Yeah. And I know you
If
mentioned
that
it's
makes sense.
quantum biofeedback. That word quantum, what exactly does quantum mean?
Oh, well, it's quantum physics. If people know about physics, there's a whole book as to how this actually functions, but it's it's picking up the body's frequency. So we all vibrate on very simple chemistry levels. I think protons, neutrons, positive, negative charges. We're really a bag of organs that have a positive and negative charge. And so this device picks that up. It's getting into the nitty gritty of it is a lot. There's actually an 800-page book as the Promorpheus that describes the physics of how this device works. This is an FDA registered device made by Dr. Nelson, who was born in Ohio, but now currently lives in Budapest and
Oh, cool.
is really amazing individual. I say not from this planet because he worked for NASA at the age of 17, working in the Apollo, and why the astronauts got sick, did all that. Got his MD by the age of 24, and kind of that. There's a whole other story with that, but has moved on to Budapest to continue studying with homeopathy. And there's some things we're trying to get him back here, but because sometimes people that are really, really smart sometimes do other common sense things that maybe are not so smart. That's the best way to put it. But he's been in Budapest and is working his way back. We're trying to get him back here because of some bigger picture
Cool.
issues that I'm
And
not going to get
and you
into
said
all this
this
stuff.
is FDA approved or
This
what?
is FDA registered. Yep.
I
Hmm.
was unaware of that. I thought
Yes.
that's awesome.
No,
Cool.
it
So
is FDA registered, as are all the homeopathics that I use through the device. So it's really, really cool. And when I first saw this, I'm like, why every doctor doesn't have one of these is like, this is just such a helpful device. It really, really is. It detects in the body what could be issues and what has been an issue in the past, what where you kind of currently are, and where you might be heading. So the challenging piece only with this device is it doesn't tell me where in that spectrum you are. Are you heading towards something, or are you there right now? So nevertheless, it needs to be addressed. Whereas things like MRIs, CT scans, blood work will tell you where you're at this particular moment. But this picks up things like, hey, you better look at the heart. You better start looking at this because the frequency there might be heading towards something that's, needing some assistance.
known in shamanism and the energy arts, they say that it always starts energetically before it distills down and manifests physically. So this is kind of like a
Absolutely
wave
correct.
pre-warning device in a
Correct.
sense. Very,
Yep,
very
absolutely correct.
interesting.
And then it sends frequencies to the body to help the body heal. So ideally, it is designed for somebody to be in front of me and hooked up, but also works quite well virtually. Just more potent if you're in front of me. We'll
For
put it
those of
that
you
way.
just joining us, I gave her my intake information, and she's going to actually do one of these sessions on me. And one of the reasons that her video is kind of odd is she's about to do a screen share. And whenever you screen share, it kind of taxes to computers memory and everything. So that's why for me you're coming in a little bit distorted, but I'm sure it's because of the screen share that we're about to do.
Well, we'll move over into screen share, Hank, and maybe that will be more
Yep.
helpful.
Yep.
So
So
that way we're
we'll go
not
ahead and
too
get started. So you guys are going to
distorted.
see all my secrets and stuff of what's going on with me.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
look at that! There we go.
I hope it's not too secrety.
No,
So
no,
this is
I'm hoping
after I run a calibration. Did you have something else, Hank, you wanted to say? I'm sorry, I
no,
didn't mean
no,
to
just that
interrupt you.
the reason that we're doing this is my hope is that when you see what the machine can do and everything, and that it can be done virtually, that despite being on lockdown and things of that nature, that people like Dr. K can offer a lot of different things that can help facilitate ease and change and possibility in your life from the comfort of your own home. So, just wanted to mention that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have clients I work with that are in Texas, that are, in Michigan. Yeah, it works quite well across the lines. And people are like, well, how does that work? How would that work? Well, how does your cell phone work when you call somebody in Italy? If you have family in Italy right now, it's bouncing off of different towers to get that signal. So it's no different than this. This picks up somebody's frequency based on the birth date, where you were born and your name, and it just finds your frequency that way. I know it's a little maybe interesting to capture, but does your doctor tell you how your MRI is being taken, all the nitty gritty of your x-ray? There's certain things that just have, frequencies, and that's how it works. So I already put all of Hank's information in, and so after it calibrates to Hank's body and his being, this is kind of what it pulls up. I don't spend a lot of time here. A typical session takes an hour to about an hour and a half. We're just going to do some parts and pieces so everybody can get a little taste of kind of how this works. So the first thing that comes up when I calibrate is this big screen. Everything that's in the red, this tests you against 11,000 different signatures. And what I mean by signatures is every condition, every homeopathic medication, all those things have a signature, meaning an electromagnetic signature of, a frequency that's measured a certain way. That's the best way I can kind of describe it. So it tests Hank's body against 11,000 different signatures. Things that come up in the red are things that that the body's basically screaming at right now, saying, "Hey, this is the hottest item. You might want to just take a look, see what's going on." And then it goes up. I'm not going to spend the whole time with it because I don't spend a ton of time on this screen. But it makes all sorts of recommendations, like Bach flower elm could be good for you, Hank. Occasional feelings of inadequacy, exhaustion from trying for perfection.
Oh, oh,
Where
that's
might that be?
if anybody's seen my spelling and grammar, I definitely don't try for perfection. Maybe another good guess.
It's subconscious things. Your
I
lymph,
know.
your spleen might need a little support, and the lymph and spleen are areas of immunity. The spleen builds your B cells for immunity. So these may need a little bit of support. And initially, Hank, I think I told you before we started, your resistance was a little low. So let me see if I can pull up the info screen to kind of tell you, oops, where these numbers came from. Let me scroll down here. Okay, so when we were talking about, there was a screen before this that I didn't put up, guys, so you didn't see it, but voltage, his number is at a 77. Voltage typically affects how the adrenal function is working, how the willpower is working. 77 is pretty good. I like that number. Your amperage we want to see that 80 to 100, and that's, below 50 is chronic. That reflects your brain function, serotonin levels, life force. So your life force is really good, Hank. So you're doing good. And the resistance was at a 57. I like to see that just a little bit higher. Below 50 is chronic. So that's kind of reflecting the ease of flow, how in the body, how fast is your body mounting response to a pathogen or something that it needs to deal with physically. Hydration, you're at an 80. That's the ease of water throughout your cellular function. That's really good. Oxidation, 69. That's how well are your cells processing the oxygen. If you're at a 69, I like to see you a little bit higher, but that's still pretty good. And then proton and electron is your acidity, alkalinity levels, and those are pretty good too. I like to see those 65 and higher to 70. So that's good. And your cell vitality, how is your cell functioning overall? How is it doing? You're at an 8, which is great. So Those are all good numbers. Hank's doing pretty good.
Cool.
So, any back trouble ever, Hank?
Yeah, a little bit. I
Okay,
used to
so
do
this is
irrigation work, so I'm digging trenches. My back was not a happy camper.
okay. So that explains. So I start asking, clients questions, but lumbar. So this is a doctor recommends. This is a remedy that I use for rebuilding and helping the lower back, the lumbar region, and then it can say, vertebrae, sacral region. So I ask, like, is there any, pain in the lower back, any tension, any muscular issues? So this gives me just some clues, but I don't spend a ton of time here because this is just an overall like big hitter, seeing what's going on. So I just kind of scan through this. And I'm trying to think of what would be good things. So I just look for patterns in the screen, like is stomach coming up a lot? Is blood coming up a lot? Like blood has come up twice for you. So there might be just some, here's blood again, lactate in the blood. Um, CO2 in the blood. So that might just need your blood might need a little cleansing. And then you don't have a ton in red because we're already getting into the purple and these things are a second deviation off. So, it just picks up everything that you could have possibly picked up in your span, maybe you've had in the past, maybe you're kind of heading for. So I don't spend a ton of time here, but the next thing I do is that I just load the body viewer, and this is really cool. I load a couple programs, and we'll get to that in a second. I load iridology, and this will work. These are programs that work in the background, and I set my power system settings. Activate quantum indeterminacy field. That helps with positivity. Not that you're not positive, Frank, or Hank, you're completely are. And then scalar boost. When I have somebody for a first session, I don't turn these up really high because it's kind of like you don't want to, I don't want to say electrocute somebody, but you don't want to give them, there's only so much the body electric can take at a time. So you don't want to give somebody too much because they might not feel so good if you give them too much energy all in one session. So great. So we've loaded a couple programs, and there is an orgon generator. You've heard of an orgon generator before, I'm
I've
sure,
heard the
right?
term, but I can't say that I could explain what it is.
Okay. You don't want this. So let me just go through here, orgon generator. It sets a whole prayer actually. So you can type a beautiful little prayer, which I typically do. I put a whole paragraph in here. So we'll just put something like, I am in complete health, but I usually put something much longer to disintegrate anything. And then we either do spiritual awareness or universal awareness or spiritual harmony. We set the field so that it extends pretty far out, and we set the orgon generator. So it's a protective field, and then this will run in the background. And it basically sends 92,000 different prayers to you at a time. So really amazing. So then the next place I kind of go, I'm trying to think where we could go so people can get a good feel. We go to risks profile. That's a good place to start. So it looks at your top risks in the body. And if I need to do more testing, actual functional medicine testing, meaning urine tests or saliva tests or anything else that we need to do to dive deeper, we do. Everything in the red are kind of things that your body, again, is deviating from that need to be looked at. So lymphatic and environmental. So you may have some environmental toxins if you've been in a building inhaling things that weren't so great, or your lymph system is a little taxed and your blood. These are, the numbers that are in hundreds are things that I would look at
And I used to
more
work at a
deeply.
hardware store all through high school, and I always got sick every summer or spring when they brought out all the fertilizers and things. So that's
Mhm.
the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, so that could be actually sitting in your fat cells and stored. And this is a place where doctors don't even look. And I've done testing on people for environmental toxins that come up that are causing, heart issues, um, brain fog, depression, endocrine disorders. Doctors aren't going to look there. This is the difference between a functional medicine doctor and your traditional doctor, but we try to really work together. This is where we're treating the root causes and starting to look into these items and what's going on in here. So the other place we can look also is your mineral content and see, usually I'd go in and treat some of those, but any number here that's, highly above 100, I would say needs a little support. So you may need some zinc, some chromium. Let me see what's really high. Potassium, calcium, iron, selenium, and any numbers that are really low also, like this 24 in boron, may also need some support, and you are low on copper. Copper's, kind of important for the immune system right now. So these are numbers that I can actually, so we'll do this really quickly. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time here, but basically what I do is I hit calcium, I hit sodium's a little off, potassium, selenium, we'll do lithium and gold. Gold is great for the immune system too. And as you see, it comes up through here. And what I do is test, treat and test hold items. So what it's doing right now, addictor working, it's sending you a signal to the body, giving you those items in a frequency form. And then, if they're low, then I say, hey, while you're not with me, we need to supplement these and get you some fulvic humic minerals so that you get these numbers improved. You rectified to 105, which I like people to rectify definitely in the hundreds. So I have to hit this a couple times sometimes to get people, their bodies to accept enough of it. So it will test amino acids. It will test perverse energy is interesting too, because we are hit with a lot of, you've heard the whole 5G scenario, Hank, right? Or have
Yep.
you? Yeah. So this tests and measures how your body is being hit by different waves. So gamma rays are high, alpha beta waves are high. What's the highest for you here? Let's see, the alpha beta and mobile radiation. So we are all pretty high here, but again, we can get these numbers corrected. And then I typically recommend somebody get a pendant to try to negate some of those radiation waves that are coming at us constantly. So
Actually, I
what
have
will,
one of those. I haven't worn it in a while, but maybe I should start wearing it.
yeah, that might be a good idea. There's various ones that I use because Westlake actually, and you rectified 100, I did the mobile radiation for you. Westlake is very high in towers, so we're constantly being bombarded um, in Westlake.
For those of you just joining us, this is a biofeedback machine, and Dr. K is kind of doing an example. She has me hooked up virtually to the machine and connecting through that quantum field. It's bringing up all this information about how different things that could, where my body might be off, and different things that she can do to help me balance and whatnot. And I was surprised to find out this is actually an FDA approved machine, even so, even cooler.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And here I want to point out too. So I look at this bar here. It tells me where is the body at? Is it in exhaustion? Is it in adaptation? Meaning things have been hitting you so hard, but your body's just kind of starting to adapt, and that's we want you in the alarm phase. So you're in a good phase here with whatever's going on. The body's like, oh, got to deal with it. When you're in exhaustion, people are really tired, and when people have a lot going on condition wise, that's usually what I see. So we start correcting that. This is a really great place I like to look. It tells me what's going on inside your system and how you're digesting proteins, where are your vitamins. Anything above 100, I like to look at and balance out. So vitamin A needs a little bit of work. So then it breaks down even further. So this is all medical terms, your angiotensin levels, your gastrin-releasing peptides, cholecystokinin, secretin, all the stuff that's going on in the body, like biochemically, really amazing. So your vitamin A precursor is just a little bit off, and beta carotene is just a little bit off. Fish oil, you're 101. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Nothing's really to worry. We just balance it. So energy balance, and then we suggest, hey, maybe taking some vitamin A if these numbers are really off, to supplement while somebody's not with me, and then we check it again in the next session. So right now it's just stabilizing your vitamin A levels, and that's what happens when I hit energy balance.
I know you said
So
like a typical session's like an hour. Someone's coming for multiple sessions, or all the sessions an hour. Is like the first one really the longer one, and it kind of
the
you do.
first one's longer
Okay.
because it's a lot of information gathering, seeing where I get just a big picture, and then seeing where we need to look. And we spend some time talking about somebody's conditions, what we need to look at, maybe what tests we might need to order that are a little bit deeper, um, to get the full picture. And then we dive in. So if somebody comes in with, I have fibromyalgia and I have a thyroid issue and I've had cancer before and I have, gut issues, I say, okay, which one is the biggest? most problematic, and that's what we're going to focus on first. And typically the stomach is a big one. So then I just look for a rectification. Today's rectification is 97, which is great. So that's been balanced out. Let's see, your carbohydrate, your digestion's decent. You know, your numbers are all in a decent level, and it also tells you good food. So if I put a disease in, like, well, you don't have anything, so I don't really want to put anything in there. But good foods, it will tell you like what foods does your body like. And the interesting piece with this is though, people say, well, I love spinach, but it gives me gas or something like, or you know, I have an allergic reaction. There's something that happened with that, but energetically, the food is technically the body saying this it would be good for you. So we didn't really put a condition in. A lot of times I do what would be the best thing for somebody that has, you know, an allergy to or a skin allergy, or somebody that has, you know, fibromyalgia. It'll give me some foods to, you know, look at. So for you, shrimp, you don't eat shrimp because you're a vegan, right?
Yep.
So we don't do,
A
but
vegan
it
plus,
gives me,
I guess I'm plant based because
okay,
I eat honey, so I'm not technically a vegan.
okay, vegetarian. Okay. So then it gives me some clues on what your body would be okay with. So that's kind of a cool little thing that it does. So we'll close this out. I spent some, so it does amino acids, minerals. We look at all those things. I'm going to close that out. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to look into a really cool screen, which is called the homotoxicology screen. So this goes into multiple layers of the body. You can look here. I know there's a lot of kind of medical terms that might not be super explanatory, but I can go into multiple layers of the system, into the lymphatic tissue, into the bone marrow. If somebody has, you know, urinary issues, then I would click on this and kind of look what is taxing the urinary tract. So if I had a client who has recurrent urinary tract infections, so I'd go in and I will just do this as an example. Let's do bladder and see, you know, it will pull up what is taxing the bladder the most. And so we get to this screen and I look for anything above 100. So environmental toxins are coming up higher on you. So I might consider diving a little deeper and doing your urinary test on environmental toxins. But that's the highest number for you. And we can actually detox you from that. So a lot of times when somebody gets sick and they can't find the cause, this is places nobody looks. Your body might be so taxed with a number of 200 or 300 in here that it's the body's working so hard to detoxify and it can't, that we have to give it a little bit of help. So that's one place that I look. And then this is just some additional information. And then nosodes are actually things like bacteria, fungus. What's sitting in, what's the secondary thing? What's the nail in the tire and hole in the shoe that is causing a problem? So here, bacteria, your fungus is kind of high. So that would be the first place I would give you something to detox fungal infection, because that could be from previous sugar that you ate, Hank.
But I do have a little bit of sugar. I can't lie. I like
Last time you told us you had
Oreos and yeah, cookies, the vegan ice cream from Trader Joe's that I like. You know,
so sometimes when we have a sugar, or we have a, for example, a candida infection that's going on, that may have been sitting there for quite a while and you didn't know about it. You may have picked it up, you know, who knows where. But this is somewhere where I'd say, okay, we need to put you on something to detox you from the environmental toxins and to get some of this fungus out of your system so the body can go, ah, one thing off the plate. So we close that,
the
and
one
there's a
fungus
place,
things. Could that be something like Candida, or is that
it could be. Yeah, to look deeper, there's multiple screens. That's why the first session I go in even deeper and look up what fungus is, and I'll show everybody where that is, except I'm not going to spend time on that because it takes a while to do. But I can go into any organ system here and then actually detox you from it through this and then give you something to take home so you continue the detoxification process through homeopathic. And that's something your doctors aren't going to do for you. You know, I have, if vaccines even come up high, so that's an example too. Let me see if I can, I don't know if vaccination will come up for me. Let me do your heart and see if I can just pull something up here so people can see, because sometimes vaccines are a problem, but for you it's not coming up. So I don't know if I can't, oh, here it is. vaccination. Yours for the heart, there, have you been previously vaccinated as a child?
I'm sure I was. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Okay. So vaccination, if this number comes up really, really high, like in the 200s, I would say, vaccinations are a big, big topic. I know Dr. Tempany talks on this a lot. Um, but vaccinations are a problem. They put a lot of junk in vaccinations, and people can get really sick from that. So if this number turns up really high for somebody, I actually have a homeopathic to detox from vaccinations, which is really important because there's a lot of heavy metals in there too. So we'll close out of that. These are just little tidbits to show everybody where everything works. And let's see, there's another really cool screen. I mean, the amount of programs that are on here are just, we could spend hours. So keep a track on time here, Hank, if I'm going too long.
No, we're
This
fine.
is an NLP panel, so neurolinguistics panel. It does a ton.
Oh,
It
that is awesome.
dissipates.
I,
What's that?
I've trained in NLP, so I didn't realize that this did anything to do with that, but that's kind of a cool.
Oh, it does a ton. So I have a tab here. We can dissipate karma. This program runs for a little while, stimulate emotional growth, relaxation pulse. If somebody comes in and they're
Anything for
really
here.
nervous, I run the relaxation pulse first to get them calmed down and let's just start talking. It disrupts the hypothalamus gallbladder connection, ascension stimulation, stimulate insight, stimulate like higher purpose alignment. I mean, it just does open the mind. It does an enormous amount, pending what somebody wants to do, stress reduction. And these programs here are really cool too. It does anti-aging. So I actually can do an electromagnetic anti-aging program, which I have a whole connector to this that I do put something on the face. So I'll be doing that too. It releases obsession release and, what's this program? Obsession release and worry release. So if somebody comes in really, really worried, we get that calmed down. I do a whole protocol. I have a binder of protocol programs that I use as well. Treating fear and paranoia, depression, self-aggression, loss of reinforcer. There's just, I mean, the programs on here, we could be on here for hours.
Hmm.
Um, Especially Ductor therapies, we can do addiction release, cold and flu, connective tissue. And I even have this. So this is really cool. This has been recently added to the programs by Dr. Nelson. Coronavirus, pandemic SARS. So it actually zaps it. But obviously much better if you're in front of me if you can, but still works across the board either way. Inflammation, infection, injury, insomnia, lymphatic cleanse, sinus and colds. I mean, there's just multiple programs that I run while somebody's in with me. So I want to kind of show people this program. So once I gather some information, say somebody comes in and they, their circulation is coming up. So let's see, what did you have? You had lymph come up for you. So we run lymph. So this is actually going to run a program to help you with your lymph. And let's do immune system. Everybody could use an immune boost. And then I start that program running. And diseasopathical trauma. And we'll go back and just add the immune system again. So here it's actually starting to work on the immune system. It is just sending a pulse to start correcting the thymus, to start correcting all parts of the immune system that were needed. I think your spleen was in here, so we'll do spleen too. So it's working on your lymph and spleen, and there's a lot of other things that I run in the background on emotions, whatever somebody's need is. We do general health, infection, inflammation, stress release, whatever we need to do. This runs in the background. So we go back to this screen, which is I love this. This has a lot of different programs. So where we would go if you have environmental toxins or you have fungus, we could, go in here and type in fungus or an organ system. So let's do fungus and see what comes up. But it has all the different fungi, and what comes sometimes for people, anything that comes up in the red is something that I need to look at. And then we can load it in here and treat it. And that takes a handful of minutes to do. And I want to point out this though. So the place where I start to look where it says, this is the thing that needs to be handled today, regulatory dysfunction and spinal energy flow. So you mentioned that you had some back issues, maybe some tension. The body's like, okay, needs a little bit of energy. So I can't do manipulations, but obviously there is a really cool, if that comes up for somebody then that's definitely something the body wants for today. I go into the spinal program and I do this test and treat trivector energy flow. And what it does, it goes through each vertebrae and gives it like a tingle of resetting the energy flow. And that's something I would definitely do for you, Hank, since that came up, but it does take, probably about 15 minutes to do for it to go through it will go through each vertebrae. But since you had lower ones, we can do a really simple one. So if you click on this, right now it's kind of sending a signal to your lower lumbar area. I just picked one vertebrae for it to work on at this time, but it will go through the whole system and restore frequency. And then I can actually print out a report because these numbers here would change. It would say like nerve compression, subluxation. I can re-rectify everything and then send you home with a report for your chiropractor to say, okay, these are the places you kind of need to look to do a little extra manipulation, if that makes sense. Time therapies, this is a great program that I do for people to look at if there's thyroid dysfunction. We stimulate the thyroid to say, hey, do some work, get re-rectified, and then we give you a homeopathic to restore thyroid function. And I've even worked to get people off of medications. So there's a ton here that it works on. So this is a really great program, and it piggybacks all these other things that have originally been picked up in your system. So there's another great one. There's a sports program for those people that play sports. This is really great. I can strictly focus on an athlete and just figuring out what the body needs. So for you, it's wanting a little more dopamine, acetylcholine, growth hormone T4, T3 may be a little bit off. So we balance those things. Treat injury in the area. So obviously somewhere in your system, in your spine, perhaps there's a little bit of an injury, some tension. So that's what the body wants. It will light up anything in red that to say, hey, you might want to look at these things because they're a little off. And then we rectify these things too. So if there's conflict with self, with the game, with the team, we reduce all those conflicts. So sports injuries, this is a great little thing. I can go in here if somebody has had a fracture, a bone break, a sprain, anywhere, we can go in and correct all those things. It actually, I have a meridian pad that I put on the area of injury, and it will even more so focalize that energy to go into the area so the pain can be reduced, or a probe, one of the two. I use either or. So really just there's a ton of information here.
And I'm
So we'll
assuming,
get,
can people actually, because I don't know if it's in my head or if I'm actually feeling tingles in my body, do people actually report actually feeling the machine working as it's doing things?
yes, are you feeling something?
Well, even way back when you first started, I was already
Yes.
feeling this stuff happening. So
I'm getting a
maybe
lot
it's
of
subtle.
people like that now. Actually, it's so funny because I have people in Michigan. I deal with a lot of, I think, empathic people because they're like, I feel something in my throat. I'm feeling it in my throat. I'm like, okay, well, the machine is working. So some people, I'm finding the empaths feel things way more. So it's really fascinating. But yes, but there is no pain ever with any of this. You might feel a little tingle, you might feel a little energy in a certain area, but there's never any discomfort. And this is a really great
One of them,
thing
it felt like my
too,
whole body was just buzzing for a second. I was like, whoa.
because it sent the signal through your spinal cord. Because when I sent it through that vertebrae, it's possible you probably felt something through there, but not zapping anything. Well, it is. I'm sorry. I take that back. This program right here is
Mhm.
running in the background. So it's working on your lymph. But this is a really cool little thing. I can zap, pretty much anything. We can zap candidiasis, cavities. This has a whole dental program on it. I mean, great for somebody that's a dentist that can just, you find your niche with this and that's what you kind of use. So if you're a dentist, you can use dental disease, dental sarcodes, gingivitis.
It's to keep their teeth straight so you don't need braces.
It won't do any physical manipulation, if that makes
I
sense.
was hoping.
But if you have, infections, this will work on that. So, but it does send an energy to help, but you probably would need some more, physical aspects to move that through faster. But it zaps everything here. Solvents, spirochetes, vaccines. There's a wonderful little feel-good therapy, but this runs for about 5 minutes, so I don't know how we're doing on time. But if somebody's, kind of depressed, I usually hit this feel-good therapy and or balance bowel flora, and then we give you a probiotic, whatever we need to work on. There's just just an enormous amount here. And I'm just giving you the snippet. This is kind of, let me see if I can,
Time-wise, we're at about 35 minutes. We can go till about 11 as long as you have time.
I have plenty of
Yep.
time.
So yep, we got about another 25 minutes that we can play in my energy.
Okay. Dark field analysis is really cool. So for now, I'm doing a lot of immune boosting for patients, and I have a specific protocol that I follow, specific screens, but it will do a pulse for immune stim and blood cleanse, which would be good for you since your blood came up. But we can look in the pleomorph panel, which will tell me I look for anything above 100. So your mycoplasms are a little high, so we can rectify those. And then candida, there's different types of candida. Candida udolin, albican, rugosa, tropy. So rugosa is a little high on you, so I would basically hit this. Let's see, it won't take too long if I hit it. So I'm going to move this screen so you can see. So it's working. It's sending you a pulse right now to kind of deal with that. And I'm going to look for the rectification. I like to get this 85 to 90 or higher. If it's not 85 to 90 or higher, I hit it again till we get it to that 100 so we can correct that. And then definitely be like, hey, maybe we need to work on a little candida cleanse in your body so that we kind of kill these things off. But overall, your cells are working decently. So not too bad.
And I do
So I'm
usually
gonna,
do a cleanse once a year, though. If my family doesn't, because I do like the master cleanse, if you're familiar with that, do that
yeah,
usually once a year when my wife goes to Germany with the kids. I'm like, it's a perfect time because I don't have to cook, but they haven't. Let's
absolutely.
go. Yeah, but usually I take that opportunity to
Very
really do a good
good.
overall cleanse.
So that's probably why your numbers are pretty decent. So you rectified to 102. Love it. You rectify very quickly, which is great. Some people are not. Let me see blood treatments. This is a really cool panel. So if somebody comes in and bacteria is showing up a lot, like for you, fungus was showing up. I don't think there was anything else that was showing up high. So I would run. This program runs a little bit longer, so I'm not going to run it today. But we do, blood toxicity, and I hit fungus, bacteria, whatever is showing up for somebody, protozoa, flukes, and then we give you something home to continue that process. But this already gets into your blood system and starts to clean things for whatever you need specifically, and that it will piggyback like industrial solvents. So
For those of you
somewhere,
just joining us, I know I saw a couple people commenting. Hi, we're in the middle of a example of a quantum biofeedback session with Dr. K. So if you're just tuning in, definitely go back and watch the whole video and just see what all this machine can do. But I just want to give some context for the folks just joining us.
awesome. So here it's piggybacking something like what alcohol solvents you've been exposed to somewhere. Any furniture stripping solvents? Weren't you guys working in your when you were building your place?
Um, we just renovated the kitchen. I didn't, let's see, solvent wise, Florida water is about the only thing that I would consider, but that's all good, I think. Can't think of anything off the top of my head.
It could have been something you were exposed to in the past
I
too.
worked at
So
a hardware store doing all kinds of stuff. So I'm sure when toxicity, environmental factors, I wonder how much of that is current and how much was just for working at a hardware store for 10 years. Because it was literally
yeah, and
high
that
school and college, I worked there.
yeah could be sitting in your system. So this is really cool too. This is an act. If you were to put, if I do a scan of the blood, let me see if I can superconscious scan of the blood. So what it will do, it will scan your blood and pull up um, something that may be problematic. So brown pseudocrystals, I'm not really familiar with that, but um, the body electric just knows. If you look under a microscope, under brown pseudocrystals and crystals, this is what it would look like under a microscope. So it is really very true to medicine, very close to true to medicine as it can be.
And someone does have
So
a question. They were asking for insurance. Do insurance programs cover something like this?
you would have to check with your insurance plan specifically because everybody's insurance is different. I have had people that it has been covered. So you're going to want to ask for biofeedback therapies because that's what it will fall under. And then we can give you a form that you can submit. But everybody's plan some plans cover it and some plans don't. So it just depends. It depends on a person's insurance plan. So
And what about from an HSA perspective? If someone has a health savings account, is this a reimbursable expense, or is that?
yes,
Yeah, it
yes,
is.
absolutely take HSAs, FSAs. I have lots of patients that do that, that use their accounts for that. I think that's a really nice way to go, actually. Maybe the whole countries should use that because I think that's a really good
And
thing.
we're on a high deductible plan with an HSA, and for us anyway, it's actually worked out cheaper than
Yeah,
how much we were paying before. I know everybody's situation is different.
yeah, but I'm finding a lot of companies do provide that for people, and I think that's great. Let me see if I can find this. This is really cool. So this actually does an aura scan to see where things are off, and it will rebalance the aura as well, which is really cool. Let me see if we can do that. So things are, whatever's off, we just get it to do a cybernetic correction. And so it will do that. So it just kind of does that, rebalances the whole system. And then, I like to use, my energetic technologies, and maybe we'll do a little session on that sometime, Hank, with the parameters process and getting to, even though you're super awesomely already cleaned up energetically, I'm sure, I know you've done a lot of work. But when people come in with anger and resistance and sadness and all sorts of things, we try to get to the root of that problem and get the unconscious to clean up from that. And that's the parameters process that I do alongside with my pranic healing. So I call it energy mastery.
Just
I get to
responding
that a
to the
little bit
comment too.
faster.
Navena was asking if there's consultations. She does have on our website. I just posted a link to it. You can schedule just for a phone consultation to be able to talk to her.
Yeah.
And then the other thing you were asking what HSA I was talking about. That's a health savings account. So if they're most common when you're in a high deductible medical plan. It's a way that you can save money and for medical expenses, and you get a tax credit for the money that you put away with an HSA. So it's usually through your employer. Some of them employers have a match and stuff like that. And then the other one was flexible savings accounts, FSAs, I believe. And that's a similar thing also for planning for healthcare expenses. It's usually through your employer.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you for explaining that so detailed. I didn't realize you get a tax credit for that because I've never had an HSA
Yep.
account.
Yep. And then if you don't use it way later, then you can use it for other things. But between now and retirement age, it's only medical. And if you use it for something other than medical, then you have to pay a penalty on whatever it is. So, yep.
Cool stuff. It's
Yep.
it's
10
great.
years of banking and finance and still doing some stuff in the investment world. So
Hank
that's stuff I
knows
can
what he's
talk about.
doing. This is a brief overview of the skin rejuvenation program. So I actually have a probe and I actually have a little screen that we put over the face. So I can do facials. It's really cool. Probably takes about, 45 minutes to do. Probably need to do about 6 sessions, but it has all sorts of things that we can do here that I'm not going to spend a lot of time because it's kind of funny actually. But I have tested some of these and they are interesting as to how these work. They work quite well. So we'll get out of that. Let's see what else we can do that I can show you. We did the nutrition panel. Short Sarcodes is a place that I go to. So we work on opening channels of elimination. So a lot of times, some of us don't go to the bathroom very often, and that's really important because if you're not going at least, I'm going to get technical here, 1 to 2 times a day at minimum, there's buildup of toxicity. Like I had a few clients that were going every other day, and I'm like, that's a buildup of toxicity in the body. We don't want that. So we definitely want to open the channels of elimination. So this is a place where I go where we start with, for you, lymph was coming up too. So I hit all these. So the channel, so it basically tingles the body to say, hey, you need to start opening up and start excreting through skin, through lungs, through stomach. This is the first place I go to start opening the channels of elimination. So I hit this and it will start sending the body a little bit of a tingle to, kind of joggle it and say, okay, lymph, start working the way you need to be working. And then it's going to clear out all these little things on the bottom. And sometimes I fill in a little items in here if there's organs we need to work on. And this is really cool. You're rectifying to 100. I wait till this number is at 100 so I know that organ system has gotten the full energy tingle to say, okay, we're good there. We can move on to the next system. So we go on to something like the stomach, and this is really great so people can see all the parts of the stomach and how it works and where your sphincters are and where the layers of the stomach are. It's really just a really great system. And so we can work on the small intestine too. Um, if somebody's got a shoulder issue, spleen, here's your spleen, great, really important immune organ and everything, all its blood supply. So we tingle the spleen to say, hey, you got to start working better, start producing those B cells, start doing what you need to be doing. If somebody has sinus issues, we do sinus. It just depends what somebody comes in with. And this has an animal program too. So we can do feline, we can do the cat, send signals to the cat, to the dog, farm animals, horses. So it's really kind of cool, everything that it does here. Really, really awesome stuff. So I can work on animals, by the way. That's just a little side note. And then the disease dictionary I loaded down here is really great. So this is a program that runs in the background. It depends on what somebody comes in with. You had a little maybe spleen issue. So let's see if I can find spleen on here. Spleen disease, you don't really have spleen disease, but if somebody has stomach ache, stress, stress depleted adrenals, subluxations, back pain. Let's see if I have back pain. If pain is probably the general thing that we do in here. Pain threshold. So I'd click that. We do an puncture bioresonance. Let me shut the music off because it'll play music. And then we calibrate to you, and it will tell me, start looking at these numbers. And if this middle number, after it's done calibrating, is 25, 30 or higher, that's telling me, hey, this is a real problem in this person's body, and definitely needs to be looked at. And then that program runs in the background while I do all these other things. So there's a handful of things that just kind of run in the background. And for you, it's still calibrating, so it takes a minute to do that. And then it will run in the background, but I'm going to let that
Someone was
calibrate.
asking about the website. I did post it in comments, or if you look on the overlay in the upper left, that has her website too. So you could either go through the HHH site, where she's listed on our page as an affiliate for holistic health and healing, or her website is listed in the upper left. I can't see it because of some of the studio board here, but I can post that in comments afterwards too.
Yeah, so there's a lot here, universal biofeedback. This will, have you heard of Rife?
Yes, I
A
have.
Rife generator? Okay, so this actually, I put frequencies in here to send a Rife frequency to the body based on the condition, whatever that condition may be. I have a whole binder full of frequency numbers that I plug in here that run based on if somebody has, heart conditions or liver conditions, or even for the COVID-19, there's very specific signatures that they've given us to use in the Rife generator frequency. So this is really cool. It works on DNA as well. Let me see if I can pull up that panel so people can
I need to send
see.
it to you. Jill Matson did a whole music series now based on the frequencies of COVID-19 and the frequencies that would be a benefit
Isn't
to
that
the body.
cool?
I got it. She worked with Sherry Edwards to get it to make it, and it's really amazing stuff. And it's all free. I can send a link to that website as well. So it's just music you can download, listen to it in the background, and it's all to support the immune system.
Awesome.
That
Awesome. I think the biggest message for people, Hank, too, I wish we could get this out to even more than this community, because I think people might not be aware that there's so many things out of the box that can be so helpful that I have a lot of clients that come in that are frustrated with the medical system because they're like, we've gotten this test and this test, and my doctor tells me everything's perfectly fine, but I don't feel fine. And I'm like, I believe you. There might not, you know your body best. And then we look into things like environmental toxins. I'm like, this is why you're not feeling good, because the medical system only goes so far. And all these things, homeopathy has a really um, strong past history. If you look into the history of medicine, when Rockefeller came into being, I recently kind of looked at this and I'm like, this is pretty amazing. That's really where medicine started. Before that, homeopathy was used and used very, very well. And then once the medical schools started, because of money and the money they found in medicine and instituting insulin, they've kind of pushed homeopathy to the side, and then it was shoved under the carpet and not talked about anymore. And now it's starting to come to the surface again. I think the world and the universe is bringing it up to the surface again because it's needed. In Europe, homeopathy is part of their national health program. They use it just like medications. Their first line of treatment is not medications. They actually use homeopathy. So it's fascinating what's happened in the U.S. and how much we use big pharma, and that's
yeah.
toxicity. The body doesn't understand a synthetic, item that's been made. Even vitamins that are synthetically made, the body doesn't know what to do with that. I'm not poo-pooing it. I've used it, and in emergencies, sometimes we have to, but really getting the body back to homeostasis, I think, is the key. So that's it's interesting how crystals and all these things are starting to come to the surface now, and times are changing, and I'm happy about that. But I just want people to know. A lot of people, I think, aren't aware that there's so many things out of the box that can be used to help alongside your medicine, alongside your doctor, like functional medicine, like this. It's there to help. So this is another really cool little program. It's scan and repair genes. So, if I look in that very, very initial screen that we looked at, I can scroll up and down that and probably find some chromosomal abnormalities. And then I can go in here and start repairing, actually giving a tingle to the DNA, because the DNA is all energetic as well, and restructuring it so that it functions better and repairs items that could be causing things for you now or in the future. So this program runs a little bit longer. I probably shouldn't have hit it.
Are you familiar with Bruce
Sorry.
Lipton's work at all?
What's that?
Are you familiar with Bruce Lipton's work at all?
Yes, love
Yeah,
Bruce
it's
Wilton's The
about
Biology of Belief.
DNA. Yeah, it is amazing stuff. And he's a scientist, I believe, biologist,
Yes,
and he would like do DNA marker tests for people and then work with them and then do the test again and things that were predisposed before are gone. So it's just another testament. Like this machine's one testament to it, and just throwing out another one where you can see that your DNA is not etched in stone. It can be worked.
absolutely. It can be changed. It absolutely can be changed. And he even, I think, taught in medical schools some, or gave some lectures. And the Biology of Belief, that's an excellent book that I tell a lot of my clients to just, if you don't want to read the whole thing, that's fine. Just read a couple pages and then read the whole thing, whatever you want to do. But have the belief energetically in your mind that things can repair and that you're not locked into just the medical system. So this tells me a little bit about what's going on: dysfunction and regulation of vitamin D4, dysfunction and regulation of nutritional deficiency in fatty acids, and adenosine, and that's a part of your hypertensive system. Avoid processed sugar,
But
Hank.
the cookies are so good, especially when you scoop it with the ice cream and eat it at the same time.
Uh, avoid overeating. So control potassium, calcium balance, and sodium. Drink lots of water daily. So, and it does telomere repair. So we go in with the places where there's things in red, and dysfunction, vitamin K. So that's just where things may need a little bit of work. So we'd go in and start repairing that if that's something that somebody needs. But we won't spend time there because these programs run for quite a while. Scalar therapy. So here it tells me what does the body want? Number one, it wants this program first, scalar therapy, and I'll show you what it looks like. I'm not going to run it because it takes a while, but it will harmonize throat, speech, thyroid. I run this whole panel on somebody, so it just harmonizes all these things so that they work better. So I would hit treat all here, but I won't do that here just because this program does take a little bit of while to run. So that's what it would want, and your spinal, and that's part of the places that I work. So I think we are getting close to 11 o'clock. Is there any questions or somewhere? That's just the tidbits of what this can do. There's also a stress program. I will see if I can just show it really quickly.
Let me switch
Stress
back.
reactivity. No, that's not where I want to go. But yeah, if there's any questions, I want to make sure that we get those answered. Oh, this is stem cell. Sorry, I hit the wrong one. But there's a stress program on here too, stress and DNA reactivity. So there's a lot we can do for stress reduction along with the healings that I do. It works great. It really, people feel much calmer, much better, great at a time like this. So
I think it's great with all the information you can get from this. If you do need to take a deeper dive into something, you're one of the practitioners that you could write the order to get blood work done, or you could do a
absolutely.
prescription for something if it was medically needed. And so,
Yep.
like, it's really the whole approach is holistic, pun intended.
Yep, absolutely. And this does have another program, which I'm not going to get into, but if you're taking certainly certain supplements that you bought, I don't know, from some store somewhere, I'm going to close out of here. Um, or sure, stop sharing the screen. Um, although my computer is glitching here for some reason. I don't know why. There we go. If there's a supplement that you're on and you're not sure, is this good for me? Is it not good for me? I can actually put it on a little panel that's attached to the computer, and it will say, does your body resonate with this? Does it not resonate with this? Also with bacteria or conditions that you have, like maybe your doctor said, well, we don't know, but it sounds like you have ulcerative colitis. There's a place I can look in and see what bacteria resonates with that. Do you essentially really have it? Is your body resonating with that and mounting a response? How much is it or not? Is that a really big problem? So there's places I can go in and look at that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing the web link. I'm going to post the link for your website too. She's also on the Holistic Health and Healing website. If you go under our team, she's one of the practitioners that's listed. But I'm posting her website as well. So if you want to go find out more about Dr. K, you can use this web link and it will take you right to her, and you can find out all the information or schedule that consultation and see if what she might be able to plan out and do for you. This is so much
Yeah.
fun.
So I hope
It
this was
wasn't as
kind of helpful.
traumatizing
I
as
hope I
it
didn't
sounds.
exploit you too much.
No, no, I was worried. I was like, oh man, I don't know. What if it's all bad and people are going to see how, but it was all good. Couple
No.
things. And everything that came up was validated because of the hardware. You didn't know I worked at a hardware store or anything like that. But for 10 years, and that was my pet peeve every spring was when those fertilizers came out. I always felt so sick, and even
Yeah, and that might still be in
people
your
now, it's like, oh,
system.
yeah.
That might still be in your system. The other thing I'm finding, I have two patients that I work with that are in Houston, and the first thing that comes up for them on that risks profile in red, not the very first page, but the other page, was radiation. Radiation, and had I not, I'm learning more about Houston. Their radiation levels and towers are mega high and they're like bombarded. That is the 5G is disrupting the cell's water balance and how the cell is structured and how it's functioning. So if your cells are like going all wacky and they're not doing the right thing, that's going to cause problems within the body. It's going to cause viruses to come up. It's going to cause all sorts of things to malfunction. So that was really fascinating. I have two people that I've worked with from Houston that both of them had radiation come up first thing, and I was like, this is really after I started researching and they started telling me that Houston is like the one gal told me Houston is like she's had problems ever since she's moved to Houston. I'm like, maybe getting out of Houston would be a good idea.
Well, maybe we should do another whole segment just on 5G and what you can do. And because it's part of our reality for better or for worse. And if it's going to be here, what could we do to complement our body and, not succumb to the
We can
damage
do
that
that.
it could be. Yeah, cool.
We can do that. Little tip for everybody, I would say turn off the internet at night. Just literally unplug it. Don't just push the off button. Unplug it at night. You can save yourself a little bit of minimized radiation, but there's a handful of things you can do for your home, things you can purchase to protect your home, and getting a pendant to create a field around you, so at least you're deflecting some of those things, because we are coming up on changing times that they're not the cause of a virus. People say, well, there's a proposed theory that the 5G caused the virus. Based on things I've listened to, I don't think it caused it, but it's an irritant. It's definitely an irritant to it. Not helping.
Great. Well, thank you so
So,
much for being with us. Again,
thank you.
thank you for your comments, and we will plan to do this again if it continues to work out schedule wise. We'll be on hopefully once a week with some sort of topic, and we can refer back to this video going forward when we're talking about biofeedback. Like, well, we're not going to explain it again, but go back and watch Hank guts exposed online.
Yeah, sorry, Hank. You're the guinea pig.
Is there any frequency for your machine can do for hair growth?
I can look into it. Let me see if I have a protocol for
I'm
it.
just joking, but if we
We,
if we can do that, that would be a great testament to the
I have a pranic healing technique that we'd have to do 3 times a week for quite a while, but it is possible.
Okay, well, we'll play
But
with
I
it.
don't know if I
We
can get you a full head of hair.
but if we could just like, like a chia pot or whatnot, that would be that would be kind of fun.
I'm willing and up for anything. So
Well, guys, thank you so much for being
great.
with us, and we will see you hopefully next week for another episode
Thanks.
of Holistic Highlight.
Namaste. Have a great day, Hank.
Bye bye.